folks, hope you're all well. Quick little single asset market update tonight, just as I've been looking at this today. Saw a few mentions on social media about Chiliz, ticker CHZ, in the run up to the Qatar World Cup, which starts next month, or later this month. The token itself is the on-platform currency for the Socios.com fan engagement platform built by Chiliz, on which sports teams and organisations create their own tokens, which fans can use to pay for products and services over the Chiliz blockchain. I don't know a huge amount about the chain, it's just something I had a little of in the previous bull run, and I found the link to the World Cup quite interesting, so I thought I'd have a look. That said, I can't actually find any official link between Chiliz and the World Cup in Qatar, so this may just be social media talk or assumptions, but that in itself can provide decent trading opportunity if there's a bit of news or a bit of assumption there, so I had a little look. So starting the weekly, and there's not a huge amount to look at here. It's a fairly new token, only launched, or we've only got data for it going back to September 2019, so realistically we've got the COVID lows and then the whole bull market from there is the history we've got for Chiliz. You can see here the current weekly range is quite a wide range. Price has retraced to around about the 382 level of it, so for me that's enough to continue. If it's going to continue, you'd normally look for it to come back into a discount, so into the green area somewhere, and ideally somewhere around about the OTR ranges, but given that was the bull market and the strength of that impulsive move, the minimum that I would look for would be 382, particularly on this sort of macro scale. So we can see here we hit the 382, so it may well be that the weekly's done enough and it's looking for continuation, but the main point on the weekly here is that even though there's not a lot of data, the structure is bullish, so we have to work with it with the data that we've got. Drop into the daily then to see where the daily is inside of that weekly structure. We can see here that the daily is also bullish. So again, not a huge amount of data points in this one, just because of the newness of the token. I'll drop that weekly range off so you can see the daily better. So this is the daily range, a bit of a tighter range, and as we can see there from the top in March 21, we have retraced back into the OTR of the daily range. So we bounced around about the 705 sort of area, and that was an area of weekly imbalance. So there's a buy side inefficiency, buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency in there on the weekly level, so it was an area that you would look for a daily kind of retrace to react from. So we have seen that in there, but daily structure hasn't broken the high yet. It's just bounced in an area where we would expect it to, and it's been driven by the time frames below. So again, daily bullish, that's the main thing to take away, and it did reach into a daily area where we might expect it to have a reaction. Drop into the 4 hour then. I'm going to start to get a little bit more data on the 4 hour. Let's have a look at the 4 hour range and the 4 hour structure. So 4 hour structure again is bullish, so in confluence with the daily and the weekly, as you would expect. So the daily's moving up. We can read that as it's had its retrace back inside its range. It's found a point of interest, and it's now moving on, looking for the daily high. So H4 bullish inside that. Had this one little wick below where it came below it came below the daily range again, but it's moved on again since there, and it's recently broken its high. So back in bullish posture for the H4, and this area here where the H4 had its recent high was a point of interest on the where are we? On the H4 chart. So that was again a sell side inefficiency, buy side imbalance on the H4 chart back here. So it was an area we could have expected it to move into. It's above this high here, so liquidity there, above these highs here. These are relatively equal highs, and it's in this fair value gap or inefficiency imbalance in the market. We'll see it then start to have a reaction, so we're looking for what the H1 is doing inside of that. So week 1 bullish, day 1 bullish, H4 bullish. So let's have a look and see what the H1 structure is doing inside of the H4 structure. So we can see here H1 again was bullish in confluence with the H4, but H1 has recently broken to the downside. So it's broken its major low bearish, which would signify that that was probably a reasonable place to expect the H4 to turn, and we're now looking for a retracement inside this current H4 range, so the green range here. So somewhere at a minimum down around about this kind of 382 level of the H4 range, ideally into the green area, into discount, and into the OTE sort of area. But there's not a huge amount down there on the H4 to be looking at. There's this one kind of fair value gap here just around equilibrium, which would be a reasonable place to look. And there's a bunch of H1 lows on the way down there that it might come to. But anyway, the general message is that the H1 is broken structure, so the H4 looks like it's about to start its retrace. So we might see a little bit of downside just now, before we assume H4 is going to continue, daily is going to continue, and weekly is going to continue. So if I have a look at that in the actual H1 chart, just so you can see the structure's a bit better. So that's where we are there. So the ranges, breaks the ranges and bullish structure, and then this one is a bearish flip. And as you can see, the H1 retrace that's happened since it broke its low has gone beyond the 786, but there is a few. I'll take that one off and put the H1 ones on. There is a few areas of interest up there on the H1 chart in terms of another couple of inefficiencies. So it's filled the first one, bounced in the second one, and is moving back down again on the M15 chart. So speaking of the M15, let's have a look at that within the H1. Now I suspect this is broken structure since I started recording this video, but let's have a look anyway and see where we are. So yeah, indeed, the M15 has broken structure, bullish. This was the high. Took this low, set the low. We would expect then a retracement back into the M15 range, which is the H1 retracement. It's leading the H1 retracement to the upside. It has broken the M15 high, but it's potentially just to try and clear this imbalance. So it's basically just to complete the H1 retrace. So we'll be looking for this now to see if the M15 was to flip bearish again, and we probably need to drop down into the M5 to see what's there. But this is one of the if we look at my display on the left there, this is one of the things I was looking at for potential invalidation if that M15 continues on. We're now looking to see, does it actually reverse here, or does it go to take the H1 high, which is this one up here. So the H1 and the M15, or old M15 high and current H1 high are the same. So we're looking to see if it takes this H1 high up here. If it does, then the H1 is reversed, and we're not going to get that deeper. We're not going to get just now that deeper retrace on H4. But ultimately for Chiliz, it does look as if there might be a bit of upside potential there. So I will be looking for entries over the next few days and weeks potentially. Obviously dependent on Dixie. I've done a lot on Dixie, so you'll have seen my analysis on that. I'm looking for Dixie to continue the downside to break H4 lows, so that would tie in with potentially this continuing for at least a little bit. Weekly and daily is probably not too much use to look at the moment, but certainly the H4 being in confluence with daily and weekly, with the H1 now retracing the H4, there might be the potential for some short-term trades there. So in terms of what I might be looking once the H4 structure broke, put that back on, and we'll jump back up to the H4 just to see this a little clearer. So in terms of where I might be looking, it would be around about this area. I'd have to have a look and see if there's any points of interest there on the H4 or on the daily where it might retrace back to that level. There's another high over there, so somewhere around about kind of these highs might be a reasonable area in this imbalance here. But somewhere around about that 265 or negative 27 extension of the previous range would be something I would potentially look at. I would like to see it come a little bit deeper to at least the 382, but if the H1 breaks and we continue. But yeah, long and short, there might be a few potential long trades there. Don't know if there's any connection to the World Cup at all, but it was quite an interesting one to look at. Hopefully that's been useful. Any questions, stick them in the comments or on any of my social media, or if you're in the Discord, feel free to ask in there. And that's us. Enjoy the rest of your night. Until next time, stay safe. My tea's it. Gotta go.